I'm Agent Scott.
And I'm Cam the Provocateur.
And we're from the Spyhards movie podcast.
That's right, and you are listening to Pods Like Us, the podcast that has a license to thrill.
Hello and welcome to Pods Like Us. I'm Martin Quibell, known to my friends as Marv, and this time I am joined by Adam Kent and Craig Busek from Adam and Craig's Guilty Pleasure Cinema. How are you guys?
Yeah, all good, mate. Thank you very much.
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Thank you very much. It's been a long time coming, shall we say?
It has, yeah. We've had such conflicting schedules with everything. Mainly Craig's fault, because he's so busy. I'm very much a lady of leisure these days.
I take full responsibility and I don't apologise. Good to be busy.
Yeah. Better to be busy than, in my situation, sitting on the couch most days staring at the wall.
Dear me. So, can either of you remember your first experience of seeing a film at the cinema, Craig?
Yeah, I remember going to see The Lion King, which came out in 1994. So I'd have been 3 at the time.
Wow, okay.
And I strongly remember walking out in tears because Mufasa died. Spoiler alert for The Lion King, everyone. But yeah, I remember watching that, and then I remember watching the next one. I remember after that, oddly, is Batman and Robin, which I want to say was maybe 97. But I remember getting so bored and just because it was like one of those kids clubs, like £1, £1.50 cinema ticket, kind of parents get rid of the kids for an hour and a half weekend trips. And so there's me and like 6 other kids, and we realized all 6 of us were like, this is shit. Let's just start fucking around in the cinema. And because it was only kids and no parents, no one came in. We were jumping up and down off of seats because Batman and Robin is terrible.
Savages.
It's got a weird kind of cult throwback, like, oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger's great in it, but that is a bad movie. And we knew that when we were 6. So yeah, those are my first 2 kind of memorable cinema experiences.
And you've been giving out about movies ever since.
Damn right.
And I feel old saying that you were only 3 years old when you watched that.
Yeah, so, that kind of made my heart ache a little bit. I was like, oh, geez. How old would I have been then? I must have been about maybe
20.
No. I'm not that old, mate.
So when was that again? When was that film out? I've got to work out now. I think I was 23.
1994 was arguably the best ever year for cinema. Yeah,
I'd have been 23. What about you, Adam? What was your first experience that you remember?
For myself, I vividly remember seeing Super Mario Brothers at the UCI back when they were a thing.
Classic.
Yeah, and I think I went there for my whatever age it was birthday party, and I had all my schoolmates, and we went to go see it, and it was like the movie for us to go see. And I remember walking out of it going, oh my God, that's amazing. It was like the best movie I've ever seen. And obviously, years looking back hasn't been kind to it.
No.
And finding out that Bob Hoskins and
John
the other guy?
Leguizamo.
John Leguizamo. Were pretty much smashed throughout the whole filming of that movie just to get through it.
So that would have been 1993. How old would you have been?
So 93, so born in 86, so what, about 7, 6, 7, something like that. Yeah. So just the ripe age for that movie to not have their kind of level of awareness about how crap it was.
I've still never seen it.
You never?
Nope.
Oh, come on!
You've just told me it's crap. I'm not going to sit down and be like, oh, let's go in on this.
Yeah, that's definitely the reason. It's kind of one of those. It's so bad that's almost okay. It's not like it's so bad it's good. It's like it's so terrible that you kind of like, well, I kind of need to see how bad this movie is.
But some
kind
films are like that.
Yeah, it's like watching a car crash in slow motion.
Yep.
You can't turn your eyes away from it.
Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. That's such a bad film. It's hilariously funny and good, but bad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for me, I've got to that stage now where I've seen enough films that are so bad they're good that I'm trying more to watch films where I'm like, oh, this is actually good. I watched, speaking of John Leguizamo, his movie The Pest not so long ago, and that was the last straw where I was like, no, I'm done. I'm done with bad movies that are so bad they're good.
Isn't that the one where he has like a farting shower scene?
I don't know if there's a farty shower scene. It starts with him doing a rap in the shower, and it ends with him doing that same rap in the shower, going through him doing like different characters that he may or may not play in the movie, including a lot of racist stereotypes. And then Jeffrey Jones gets him hooked into a kind of hunting humans for sport situation.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah, it's really coming back to me now.
Yeah. It shouldn't. It's. I watched it with my new housemate David, and he walked out like, I'm done. I can't. And that was 10 minutes in.
Nice.
Timmy.
I'll save that for season 3.
Oh, God, no.
So what would you say is your favourite film then, Craig?
So, favourite and best. I think my favourite film, because of like how it speaks to me personally, is High Fidelity. I know it's a bit problematic at times watching it back now with like a 21st century eye, but it's also one of my favourite books. And yeah, it's a film that when I'm feeling down always manages to pick me back up. But I think the best film ever made is Blade Runner. I think that's a film that does storytelling through visuals as opposed to dialogue. You can, depending on which version you watch, you can either watch the phenomenal version or that's still okay theatre cut. And it's probably one of the only pieces of like cinematic memorabilia that I have in my room.
Cool.
The unicorn from Blade Runner, which is like printed over the top of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is the source material.
Yep. Which I've got in a book.
Yeah, I got the book on the shelf. It's just it's wonderful storytelling. It's beautifully shot. The music is Vangelis and it's out of this world. And the acting of Harrison Ford and Rutger Hauer, the speech of Tears in the Rain, whoa, that gets me every time. Kind of a being accepting its own fate and just shutting down, like, I got nothing else to live for, every time gets me.
Yeah. Slightly irritating that there are so many versions of that one film, though.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing where I say to people, oh, you've got to watch Blade Runner. They come back. I watched it. It wasn't that great. It's like, was there voiceover? Yeah, then you didn't watch the right version. There are 3. There's the theatrical cut, the final cut, and the director's cut. The final cut, for me, is the one. Theatrical has the voiceover, so it's a bit like, no, definitely don't do that. Director's cut's okay. It's just a little bit longer, and for me, you don't need it.
Right, I thought my box set actually had more than 3 versions. I can't remember how many there are. Because I think there's like 5 or 6 discs in that. It's ridiculously large package.
God, if there are more, fair enough. I'm not going to watch them. For me, I've just got my final cut. I'm going to stick with it.
But don't you think some of these sets that they put out with these films are ridiculous, the amount of stuff you get with them? You like some of this stuff, but some of it's just too much. It's like, I've got a box set of The Matrix, the entire Matrix thing, including the Animatrix as well. And that one, you've even got in there a 4-hour-long discussion about the religious undertones. And then you got a 4-hour discussion about this and a 4-hour discussion about this. And you think, My God, when am I ever going to have the time to watch all that?
I suppose it's these days that most of the media you're sort of consuming is coming from like things like Netflix and Amazon and all these sort of streaming platforms. So in a way, I kind of do miss a little bit of that, the sort of behind the scenes features, the commentary and things like that. I feel that it's kind of almost like a part that's missing now from movies because for when I was growing up, you didn't really have that watching it on VHS. And if you wanted to learn anything about movies, it was very much you had to go and get to the source of like magazines and things like reading Empire magazine and all that jazz. And then obviously when people got a bit more savvy and started getting on the internet and started reading a little bit more about goss, and it was quite nice when you would then get these DVDs when that started becoming more and more prevalent to then see people starting to really utilize the extra disk space and creating features. Again, obviously having a commentary. And sometimes some of the movies are enhanced by the commentary. So if you obviously listen to the Armageddon commentary and you hear Ben Affleck's take on the movie, it's like, this is awesome. It makes this movie 10 times better.
Yeah. I just mean that, some of these, I love the behind the scenes footage, but sometimes there's a bit too much. That's all that I meant.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think the two biggest culprits, I guess, are Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, because there's so much like, here's the hour long of how we filmed the pod race, or here's this hidden Easter egg with Elijah Wood doing a fake interview or stuff like that. And it's never been for me. For anyone that does watch it, my friend Jenny is a huge Lord of the Rings fan and has watched all of the extended versions and all the extras and all the bonus features, and she's told me about all this stuff. It's just not for me. But at the same time, I will happily sit down and watch, say, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia for the 5th time.
Oh, yeah.
Even though it's the same amount of time, I'm not getting anything new. I'm just getting a little bit of like, I'm having a bit of entertainment. So it's horses for courses, I guess. But yeah, it's never been. To be honest, I don't like DVD menus that go on a bit too long. Mm-hmm. I don't like, when it's like the helicopter that flies through the building and you've got the guitar sound in the background and then it's like, do you want to press play? It's like, obviously I want to press play. That's why the DVD is in the thing. Just give me play.
Isn't that not the Dolby?
Yeah.
That's the Dolby intro.
That is the Dolby intro, but they do that at the beginning. That sort of thing at the beginning. I want to say the Die Hard DVD I've got.
Yeah.
And it is like you're going through Nakatomi, going into the elevator, going up to the top floor. You open up scene selection. It's like, no, just show me the movie. I want to watch the movie. I bought a DVD recently called Ricochet, which is a Denzel Washington, John Lithgow thing. It's straight away.
Oh, yes.
Like, your only options are to play or scene select. There's no fucking around. And it was so nice just to be like, yeah, give me it. Just give me the thing.
So what would you say is your favourite film then, Adam?
Hands down, Rocky. Yeah, Rocky, number one. Just for the movie itself, it's a great movie. It's well written, it's well acted. It's a fantastic tale of redemption of someone actually, having some self-belief in himself, not just to, go for the Hollywood ending, which is, he would have won, but it's to actually go the distance, and just to be able to prove that to himself, someone that's always had a level of self-doubt that he can, fulfill his dreams or his potential. But that has so much relation to the behind the scene work. The story of Stallone having to, sell the script to survive while he was writing that script. I think he had to sell his dog, just to try and make ends meet. He stuck to his guns about being cast in the movie as well. He was like adamant that he had to be in it and he wouldn't sell the script without that being a condition. And I just really like the perseverance. It's kind of like the dream, isn't it? That you can write this one script and then launch your Hollywood career. And obviously, he won Oscar for best writing for that as well. So not exactly a bad movie, is it, if it's won an Oscar?
True.
Well, let's not pull that thread.
Oh, if you want to pull that thread, we can. But
Yeah, there's some films that have won Oscars which, yeah, I'm pulling that thread, aren't I?
So
Yeah.
you two not a fan of the foreign Hollywood press then?
There's just some films that I think the film industry probably like more than the general public, shall we say?
Yeah, I do feel that you can kind of see it in a way where, you look at certain movies and become like Oscar bait, don't they? But then again, it's just the amount of money they pump behind it as well. It's like you can kind of see that, well, they'll put all the adverts around, LA into like for your consideration, like please, select our film. And obviously they probably, don't want to get sued for libel or slander, but there probably is a bit of, bit of backhanding here and there.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have said that. But
I said let's not pull the thread.
You did. While I remember, Craig, I don't know if you know, but they are actually doing a television series based on High Fidelity.
Yeah, they've done it. It's got Zoe Kravitz in it.
Yeah.
It's on Hulu.
It is, yeah. Well, Hulu in America, we haven't got Hulu over here, have we?
No, I'm not sure if we are able to get it over here yet. Which is probably why I've not seen it. But yeah, or it might be on Amazon. I don't know. Yeah, I will get around to it when it's done. Adam knows my thought process on TV shows, so
doesn't watch it.
No.
It's got to be finished and consistently good for me to invest.
How would you define it consistently good, though? That's obviously opinion, isn't it?
Okay, so let's say that there were 7 series of a show that took over the world, and it was all anybody could talk about. And the 8th season came out, and everyone went, "Wow, that was a disappointment." Have I just wasted 7 years of my life watching a show? Yes.
Yeah,
Is the 8th series worth watching? No. Should I have waited? Yes.
But then you get to miss out on the spectacle that was the first season to the 7th.
It's like taking a really nice scenic drive and ending it with a car crash.
Yeah, but it's never about the destination. It's about the journey.
Except if it ends in a car crash, it's very much about the destination.
Such a pessimist.
So, changing subject slightly then, Craig, does that mean that you're more of a binge watcher with shows as opposed to watching them episode by episode?
I think the only show that I binge is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Other shows I'll be sporadic with. So, for example, what's a show? Boardwalk Empire. That was 3 series, I want to say.
Okay.
And then it finished, and I was like, all right, cool. Everyone says it's great. I'll give it a whirl. And it probably took me a half a year to finish it. Yeah, the binging for me, I like the anticipation. I like when I grew up. Obviously, a show came out on a Friday, and it only came out on a Friday. So I like holding on to that. Again, there are 1 or 2 shows. Big Mouth is another one on Netflix where I'm just like, nah, just give me it. Just give me all of the stuff. Probably 20-minute shows I binge.
Yeah.
But an 8 episode 1 hour series, I'll let that last.
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting that they've started almost going back to doing the weekly release on streaming.
Yeah,
we sort of saw that in The Mandalorian and WandaVision.
Yeah,
and you're kind of thinking to yourself, yeah, maybe they're trying to stop this appetite of binge watching, because I'm so guilty of it. It's like I will happily watch 3 or 4 episodes in a go, and if I'm really into it, I'll be like, right, cool, that's what I'm doing tomorrow. And because especially when things are quite episodic, as we said, we always talk about watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah, I can smash out a season like in a short hour and a bit. And I've recently started watching the X-Files again, so that's always again like a show that I can go, oh, okay, I could have watched it so many times. Go, I like this episode, cool, and you get to an episode where you're like, this is shit. skip. Oh yeah, this episode's good, and then suddenly, before you know it, you've watched like 8 or 9 seasons. And you're like, all right, okay. Now
I think that falls into a different category as well, though, because something like It's Always Sunny, and the X-Files sort of, but maybe not so much. They're sitcoms and procedurals. It's a complete story within an hour. There's little in the X-Files, from the little I've watched, that kind of carries on and out. You can watch the episode with the like parasite bug cult people
Oh yeah,
with the one of the ones with Robert Patrick. You can watch that and go, oh cool, that's a full and complete story. If you watch an episode of series 2 of Dexter, you're just going to be there like, okay, not only am I kind of lost, but also it's setting up and paying off a load of stuff I've not been around for. So I need to watch all of it.
Yeah.
And that I think is slightly different. Procedurals and sitcoms are out of that in a sense.
Yeah, but
procedurals piss me off as well.
But do you not find that, say, something like in Always Sunny Philadelphia, that so many jokes are like callbacks to previous seasons that you don't always appreciate the jokes unless you're a fan of the show and watched all the other episodes beforehand?
I think yes and no in that. So you know the episode where the guys beat up Charlie because he's beating on the Philly Frenetic?
Yes.
That's the same guys that beat up Charlie from series 2.
When they beat up, Mac beats up the transsexual.
Yeah, is that a hate crime?
Yeah.
Same guys. And if you watch the show, just like, oh, that's a fun joke. But then you've got 24 minutes and 50 seconds around that of new jokes. There's always the one or two, like the Duster, it's a sweet Duster. And things like that are callbacks. And you're just like, the jokes that I love. But what they're good at is not having like catchphrases and stuff. And so if they did that too often, it would become a how you doing. And that's when it becomes predictable and kind of gimmicky.
Yeah, but they've become caricatures and predictable and gimmicky in the late seasons, haven't they? Because they.
I think that there are 15, I think, seasons now to dissect each and every one of them. But what I'm saying is, like, yes, they do have like callback jokes and references to other episodes or other moments, or like the Wade Boggs 2 episode.
Oh yeah.
That is a completely like, okay, I need to have watched the first episode for all of these to make sense.
But that's like the meta joke, isn't it, though? It's the
fact
that it's like it's trying to do the female rebeats.
Yeah. But those moments are so few and far between out of 15 series compared to, like I said, the entirety of Mad Men, say, where it's all set up, character payoff. Okay, I need to have watched all of season 3 to remember this moment for series 4.
Fair.
I think what you were saying there with, I mean, we're supposed to be talking about your film podcast, but anyway, we're talking about television here. But the thing with that is, I think that what these places like with the Mandalorian and WandaVision and the way that Marvel television shows are carrying on with the episodic week by week, they're trying to create a buzz in a way which is longer lasting, because if you put a program out, was somebody telling me that something like Bridgerton or something, all these programs where they put the whole lot out in one go, it's a buzz for a short while.
Yeah,
but
that's
then
true.
once the majority of people have watched that program in the first week, it's no longer the in thing. Whereas, I mean, we've all seen it online where the response to Mandalorian episodes when they come out and the WandaVision episodes when they came out.
Yeah.
There was a constant flow every week in, week out of, oh, did you see how that happened? And that from back then, this is why that happened, is because you see this. So there's that constant for the number of weeks or whatever that they're probably after.
And I suppose in a way as well, it makes it almost like not critic proof, but say, for example, like say you have, you got audience type member A, which would be me, who loves watching something from the beginning to the end. And then you have someone like Craig, who's probably a little bit more reserved and will sort of pass judgment on something later on. And with that, if you do have like a block of episodes, you go, here you go, someone could by the end get to the end of those episodes. Kind of a little bit like with WandaVision. There was many people that were almost slightly disappointed with the fact that it wasn't a huge crescendo of all these other different characters and didn't lead straight into all these other bits and pieces. And, Petro wasn't the speedster from the X-Men movies, things like that. People had already so ravenous with all these fan theories that they almost built the hype up for this last episode and slightly let down. So if it had all been released and then by the end of it, someone like, myself, I might have just been, do you know what? I heard the ending's not all that. I might be put off it now. Whereas obviously, as you said, and you're right, the fact that it is literally week by week now, it does build the hype and the buzz around it. And it's obviously gives it longevity. That's a good idea. That.
Yeah, and that hype that you've got from the social networking post up on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, that builds them because then other people are seeing that week in, week out, and they'll say, okay, so people are still talking about it in week 3 because they're only half an hour long the first couple of episodes. I'll binge those and I'll catch up so I know what they're going on about.
Yeah.
So you've got that constant, whereas you haven't got the longevity if it's just there and then it's out of the way after a few days or a week, it's done.
I did feel like it brought back that almost like water cooler kind of moment from TV and stuff like that, because you would have everybody watch the episode on a Friday, and by the Saturday, everyone's already talking about it. Everyone's like, "Oh, did you see that? Or did you notice that bit?" And I think they're going to do this. I really liked that. I thought it created a very genuine buzz, especially in people I was talking to about it.
Anyway, I haven't got a really good segue here, so I'm just going to have to suddenly change subject. So go back to film. So is there a specific film that you think people would say? I don't like the word guilt. I don't like the phrase guilty pleasure. It's just, you either like it or not. But is there sort of a film that's seen as a guilty pleasure that you think is an absolutely 100% good film?
Oh, okay. Greg, go first.
You go first, buddy. You got this.
No. I need to. I was going to say you go first, but I need time to think.
Okay, so just to be clear, a film, in my opinion, that is categorically good, and yet people are like, "Oh, I shouldn't like it," but I do. Is that what?
That's it, yeah.
Okay, great. Miss Congeniality.
Yep.
Tremors. The Warriors.
The Warriors is not a guilty pleasure.
It's a guilty pleasure.
That's a classic.
You can.
That's a cult classic, mate.
A cult classic is like a hair away from a guilty pleasure, and you know it.
Disagree.
And Con Air. Categorically, I think Con Air is a great movie, but also it's not. But it is. It's doing exactly what it wants to be, and as long as you can kind of switch off from the kind of, I guess, realism of what life is and not ask any questions. We have the catchphrase on our show, "Oh, shut up, Affleck," which is code for don't ask any questions. Just let it happen. And if you show Con Air to someone who's probably in their 30s, and I am generalizing, whose favorite films are things like, I don't know, Dogtooth or like The Departed, films like that are grounded in realism, they'll watch Con Air and be like, "This is stupid, it's ridiculous." But it's supposed to be stupid and ridiculous, and it nails that. So what's the difference between something achieving what it sets out to do and it being, it's achieving what it sets out to do and being a bit otherworldly, or achieving what it's supposed to do and being completely grounded in reality? The goal of, I think, all the films I've just mentioned, was to film is an escape for people, or at least originally, when it first got kind of given out to the masses, it was escapism. And who's to say that you shouldn't feel like escaping to a world in which prisoners can take over a plane, or where underground worm monsters exist?
Yeah.
People will look at those and go, "Oh, it's silly, therefore." But actually, if it's trying to be that and it succeeds, great movie.
Yeah.
Adam.
Oh, I'll jump in. That's right. I was going to let you properly finish. So I would say that something I think slightly underrated, not in the sense just a movie, but a genre of film, which is sports movies. I feel that they're like, you never really watch a sports movie or and would think that it'd be good watches, especially if you're not into that sport. So if someone said like, "Hey, do you want to watch this movie about ice hockey or something like that?" And don't worry, I'm not going to say about sudden death. But say one of my favorite movies that I watch a lot of is I watch Goon, which has got Sean
William Scott,
and Slapshots.
Yeah.
With I think it's Paul
Newman.
Yeah, Paul Newman. Now, I don't know anything about ice hockey, and it's one of these things where, but I love sports movies. I think because I
play sports myself, and I don't think anyone's really done a good rugby movie. Probably like Invictus. That's probably the one with Matt Damon. That's probably the closest we'll get to it.
I don't think we can call that a rugby movie.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But there you go. You know what I mean? It's just like I feel it's almost like this genre of movies that people kind of overlook a little bit. I suppose when Saturday Comes with Sean Bean is another great one.
Forever Strong, starring Sean Astin's really good.
Yeah, that's a great shout as well. I suppose that because there's this very fine line between like a sports movie which has elements of comedy in it, and then a comedy sports movie. So you kind of think of something like Semi Pro or Talladega Nights. Yeah, that's a bit of a tongue twister for me. You know what I mean? Those are comedy movies. You know what I mean? Whereas they're not. The comedy movies about sports are not sports movies with elements of comedy in it.
Mm.
Yeah, and then you can have like some real dramas set around sports, which again I don't feel becomes then the focus of the movie. So something like Coach Carter or something like that.
Yeah. Escape to Victory.
Yeah, Remember the Titans, and
you're not suggesting that Coach Carter's a guilty pleasure, are you?
Well, I mean, you kind of think to yourself, you know what I mean? Like maybe if you're saying to someone like, oh, you know, what kind of movies do you like? Oh, I'm into sports movies. And people would be like, what? is Coach
Isn't
Carter...
your favourite film Rocky?
Yeah, it's about boxing. Yeah, but that's what I mean. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel it's a untapped genre of pleasure that a lot of people look down on.
But then again, you've got some films that are seen as classics that are sports related, like, you know, Field of Dreams and what other films can I think of? Rocky, for instance. I think Rocky is one of the greatest films made. I think that's a brilliant film. And
I'm sure somebody will come out and say, oh, you know, like, you know, things like Raging Bull and all these other sort of movies come out, and it becomes the idea then, you know, when you really try and dissect what certain movies are, and this is always again where it becomes slightly opinion based, isn't it? Where you know how much of the movies dedicated to drama and relationship, and how much, you know, is dedicated to the other part of it, and then, you know, the actual sport, for example. That's why it's a fun. It's something that we could probably be on here for another like 20 minutes, half hour, probably debating. But
I'm gonna go on record and say I strongly disagree with the concept that sports movies ever fall into guilty pleasure. You can just straight away Rocky, Raging Bull, Chariots of Fire, like.
Yeah, but are they sports movies? So that's the question there, isn't it?
But that's not what the question you got asked was. You got asked what's your favorite like brand of tea, and you said, well, here's what I think about coffee. Yeah, like what's in your opinion? I'm gonna get a strong answer for Marv, right? What, in your opinion, is a guilty pleasure movie, or perceived as a guilty pleasure movie that isn't a guilty pleasure?
It's a very good question there.
Yeah, and I liked when we got asked it 5 minutes ago.
This is going to be riveting listening.
It is a good question because I'm stumped. Oh yeah. What is a really good movie that everyone thinks is essentially a part of Ted? That's what I'm kind of feeling. The real question Actually. Is. No, that's like because that is a Ted movie.
Yep. While Adam is still thinking this, I will say that I do think that the one I mentioned, Escape to Victory, I would say that is a guilty pleasure of a sports film, because it's a bit.
Is that Stallone and Pele?
It is Stallone and Pele.
It is Stallone and
Fight
Pele.
The Nazis.
I mean, it's sort of like bordering on the potentially naff, but it's bloody good.
Brilliant
escapism.
And let's not take away Michael Caine as well. I mean, we've given.
I was going to say Michael Caine's in it.
Pele.
Yes.
Yeah, they break the goalkeeper's arm just so that Sylvester Stallone can be in the rest of the movie.
Nice.
I know. Yes.
Just put him on the wing.
Yeah, I was going to say you could probably pick anybody but Stallone. See how tall is Stallone? He's not that.
Don't know, mate. What do they say in Rocky?
Yeah, but mate, we know those numbers will be fluffed.
Yeah.
So, Adam, what for you is a guilty pleasure movie that isn't a guilty pleasure?
Because I'm going to say a movie, and then you're going to go, "Oh no, that's right." I'll probably say Aliens. It's probably it's sci-fi action horror, which most people would be like, "Cool, it's contained," but it's obviously got so much more nuances than that, and the fact that it's one of the very few movies that's I think surpasses the original in many ways. I mean, obviously, Alien is awesome in its own right, but that's something to deliver, isn't it? That you can take such a great movie, give it to another director, and then kind of go a different direction with it, and still just absolutely smash it to a point where obviously people still talk about it today. I mean, how old is that movie now? I thought about 30 years, something like that.
Yeah, about that. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe longer. It might be an 80s movie, like an early 80s.
It is an 80s movie.
But like, it might be early 80s. So it might be knocking on the door of 40 years.
Yeah, it is. Still holds up.
Wasn't it between Terminator and Terminator 2 in that period?
It was 86.
Thank you, Craig.
Oh,
the wonder of Google.
Yeah, I'm not trusting Craig there to have pulled it out of his head. It's like, yeah, you googled that.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's because I can see him on the video.
Oh yeah, no.
He was just looked like he was looking at a screen and using a mouse. Carrying on from that, I would say that Alien 3, personally, I call that a guilty pleasure because of the fact that it's not very well. It's not as prominent as Alien or Aliens in the franchise, but I personally think it's up there with those two films. There's some slight bits where it's a bit not quite all there, but I think it's, for the most part, I think it's a really good film, and I'd call that a guilty pleasure personally.
Yeah, we did a whole episode on Alien 3, and we came to that same conclusion, really, where
that's why I mentioned
we
it.
felt. Oh no, yeah, thank you. Good little plug there, Marv. Thanks. I think it's right, and again, because you can go into that movie and go, well, you have your opinion about it, and if you did that little due diligence and did a little bit of research, you can find out so much of a history about the production of the movie, which almost like enriches it in a way. You know what I mean? You kind of go, well, this is the movie that just like, absolutely nuked a franchise. You know what I mean? And this is why it happened. And I'm sure people have written books and done lengthy film reviews just on the behind the scenes stuff that happened on that movie.
Well, as we know, someone did an entire recut of the film.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, that's how much people took time to go, this could have been better than it was. Here's how it should have been edited.
Yeah, the assembly cut.
Yeah, I need to see that assembly cut. I really do. I really want to see that.
Oh, it's by hands down far better than the theatrical.
Right. Cool. So, here's a strange question then, considering what your podcast is about. What would you say is your least favourite film, and have you ever actually walked out of a cinema?
Yes, and I feel that we have spoken about this on our podcast before, so I can answer for me and Craig on the walking out cinema bit, and that was Die Hard 5. Yeah, that was. I think I got to around about 15 minutes into that movie, and I feel that was a part of just when the sort of car chasey bits happening, and I just kind of felt my head going like sort of a baby with unsupported neck. I was just like, oh Jesus Christ, And then I was just like looking at my watch, and I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to sit through the next however long hour of this. This is already just killed it for me. I can't even remember why I felt so strongly about it. Mainly probably because I really like Die Hard, and after Die Hard 4, I wasn't going in with high expectations anyway. But Jesus, it really lowered the bar. Even in that first opening 10, 15 minutes, I was just like, yeah, I'm out. This isn't Die Hard. I'm not going to, even though I've given him my money already, so what's the harm?
So which Die Hard film was that again? Because I lost the sound there.
Oh, Die Hard 5, was it? With From Russia With Love, or whatever it was called.
A Good Day to Die Hard.
That's the one.
Right. What about yourself, Craig?
I've never actually walked out of the cinema.
No?
I sat through all of Die Hard 5 with
Oh, jeez. I feel for you.
producer Gareth and I sat through it, as well as Taken 2
Oh,
the same year. There was that 1-2 punch where I was like, I'm done with the cinema for a while.
glutton for punishment.
Just, I don't know why. It's like going to a football match, and if your team's losing 4-0 at half time, I'll still stay to the final whistle. In the hopes that it's going to get better, in the hopes that there's going to be one moment where I'm like, all right, it was for this. But yeah, the worst film I've ever seen is actually a movie that my sister gave to me on DVD once as a joke called Chicken Park. And it's Jurassic Park, but with chickens. And that's all you need to know just how bad it is. It's abhorrent. It's disgraceful. Like, it's a film I felt myself getting more stupid as I was watching it. And
I've never asked this question about this movie because I don't know, because we always normally moved on quite quickly from it. But is it dinosaur-sized chickens?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Wow.
So huge chickens.
Huge T-Rex sized chickens.
Oh, okay. All right.
On a park called Chicken Park. And
I have to check this out.
No, you don't. Yeah, it's I won't walk out of a cinema, but I will stop watching something at home. And so that for me, I got 20, 25 minutes in. I was just like, nope, I'm not doing any more of this nonsense. That for me is the one film where I'll happily say is just the worst film ever made.
Wow. We'll get on to the show now. So, what were your first, podcast that you listened to?
Adam, you go first, man. You got this one.
I suppose the one that I really got actually probably inspired me to get into podcasting is the Old School Wrestling Review. So it's 3 Irish lads, and they get together and talk about story arcs that come from like old school wrestling, like WWF and WCW. And what really struck me about that was the chemistry between the friends.
Yep.
As well as obviously the interest in the subject matter of wrestling. It was just really nice actually hearing conversations that similarly like me and Craig will have about movies. And I always thought to myself, it'd be really nice and interesting that if me and Craig could ever record some of the conversations that we have, because many times that we would be in coffee shops, meet up for half an hour, suddenly 2 hours later, we're still on the subject of like...
We're still debating whether time travel would work in any film ever or what happened.
What about you, mate?
For me, it started, I went through a huge Kevin Smith phase in my early to mid 20s. And then I found him doing an interview with, because he does the like 3-hour Kevin Smith and audience with things.
Oh, and
you can find on Amazon, and even Kevin Smith, what have you. And then I found him doing an interview on How Did This Get Made with Paul Scheer, Jason Mantzoukas, and June Dan Rayfield talking about Wild Wild West, because he was linked to the giant mechanical spider or whatever. It's the story he always tells. And that's how I found How Did This Get Made. And I kind of binged all of their episodes and went, how are there not more podcasts like this? And a 10-second Google later, I found things like We Hate Movies. And over the time, over the years, found things like Cinema Swirl and mostly Nitpicking. And just I've now got this big bank of film podcasts I listen to. And that's branched out now into BBC Drama of the Week, the Commode Mayo Film Podcast. But it all started with Kevin Smith and him just talking smack about the giant mechanical spider at the end of Wild Wild West.
Cool. So what would you say is your go-to genre of film, Adam?
I'm very much in by the books action kind of guy. I like big muscle-bound 80s action, blowing stuff up. So your Arnie's, your Stallones, even your Van Dammes. So yeah, I'll go for that. That's my kind of. Obviously, the podcast is called Guilty Pleasure. I'm very much into guilty pleasure kind of movies. So, for example, I think Commando is one of the best movies ever made. Just that's
Time Cop.
Yeah. Oh, Time Cop, brilliant movie. I love that movie as well. What about yourself, mate, Greg?
It varies day to day who I'm with, time to time. A lot of my friends know me as the person that just loves a good B movie, and you've seen some of my trashy B movie collection, Adam, but my ultimate, favorite film is Blade Runner. It ranges from absolute trash that you wouldn't ever tell anyone you love to the pinnacle of filmmaking, in my opinion. It's an open bag for me. There's not any genre I dislike, so it doesn't really answer the question, but hopefully it also does.
It does, yeah. So with Blade Runner being your favourite film then, and the B movie thing as well, does that mean that you're really, really into sci-fi?
Not really, really into it, but Blade Runner caught me in a way that I didn't expect it to. I was a little south of sober when I watched it a few years back, and I just went, wow, this is filmmaking at its finest. And then since then, rewatched things like 2001: A Space Odyssey and Sunshine, and for me, masterpieces of sci-fi. But ultimately, I'd also just love to sit down and watch Dazed and Confused, or Everybody Wants Some, which is a talky talk Richard Linklater movie.
Okay.
I like being engaged within a story. The B movie thing is when I'm with friends and I just want a film to heckle. And this is kind of the basis of the entire podcast.
Yeah, very true.
Right, because I was about to say something, and then when you mentioned the Linklater film, I thought, no, that doesn't fit, because I was going to say that you both have a liking of films that are set apart from the real world, but then with the Linklater, they're not so much, because I was going to say that because the sci-fi is so out of this world that it takes you, that it's like you're away from what's going on in the world. It's the same as the big Arnold Schwarzeneggers and the Stallones and the Van Dammes. They are so far set away from what really goes on in the world. It's so far away from what really happens that it's like it takes you away, and it's films that you can escape into.
Yeah,
so
escapism.
It's known for something that I would say, I actually really like delving into movies. I will say as well, I do like the sort of sci-fi and fantasy movies as well. But I want that in a movie, because if I want to be essentially engaged and captivated, and with that I want my sort of mind to be blown and sort of see what somebody else's imagination can come up with, and that excites me. Whereas sort of say, for example, I think like something quite tedious would be like a kind of courtroom legal drama or something like that. Could be, that's I not that I've ever been implicated in anything and I've had to end up in a courtroom, but I can imagine it just being quite a boring affair.
I disagree.
But this is why we do the podcast. We never agree on anything.
This is true.
Well, would it make for boring content if the presenters all agreed with each other all the time?
Exactly. I mean, there are things that we'll come to agreement on, but I think that me and Craig have actually quite a good, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's not mutual respect.
It's not that. I say we've got quite eclectic tastes in movies, and we can find middle ground on things that we like, especially with the movies that we talk about.
Yeah.
But I think we can really come up from different angles about why we like the movies, and then obviously from that stem our dislikes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And from our knowledge of films, we can explain as and why it is we do or don't like a thing based on the other, the thousands of film bank knowledge that we have in our repertoire. So yeah, we can always discuss anything to an end point. Like we had a massive discussion about whether or not Tony Stark was a good character in the Avengers in the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And eventually we ended by going, hey, let's do a special episode on this, because that's been a good hour of content. But we found mid-ground from the starting point of, I don't think he's very good, Adam thinks he's amazing, discuss.
He is amazing.
Yeah.
So what's the history of your show itself? How did you first come up with the idea of it? And then how long did it take for you to get it actually started from there?
I think it actually took a little while to, because I think it's one of those things where I wasn't too sure if we were both committed to it at the time.
Well, to begin with, we wanted to do a different podcast.
Yeah.
We wanted to do a rugby podcast, and then just...
That was it.
hours upon hours of research, analysing, editing, looking at scores, watching highlights and going, oh, we're not getting paid for this. It's not worth it. So that kind of died in the water. And then it was, should we just talk about film?
Yeah, talk about what we know.
And then I bought the equipment and then we went from there. It took probably a month.
Yeah.
From let's do a cinema podcast. Okay, this is what it would be called. You got the logo and theme song. I got the equipment.
Yeah.
We went from there.
It seemed quite like a natural pace for how it came along, because we were like, oh, what do we call it? And it's like, oh, do you know what? Well, this will do. Adam and Craig. And then what's it about? What kind of movies do we want to talk about?
That's about the guilty pleasures of cinema.
And that's the kind of, as I said, it based on our conversations that we'd always sort of stumble into when we'd meet up, socially, go for like, coffee or food or something like that. We'd always end up on movies because Craig's background is script writing. So Craig's a bit of a sort of a know-it-all when it comes into that side of the industry. He works a lot on sets and production. Myself, I went to university, did a film studies degree, and then I did a little bit of production after that, but something that I didn't actually really enjoy. I wasn't really into the really long hours being on set, and I sort of found other work in the more sort of hospitality industry, as you do when you're sort of failing in the film industry. And then from that, I've sort of built my career up from there. So for us, it was just kind of like, we'll talk about what we know, but more about what we love, because we really love cinema, we really love movies, and we love it and appreciate it from the sort of popcorn element of it, of watching it, enjoying it, but also from the technical side of it, sort of the production values and even everything from screenwriting and plot themes.
Or in your case, music.
Oh, I do love a score.
I was going to say, your own personal background, do you think that shaped what you think when you go and watch a film?
Oh, I tell you what, you used to. I actually, for a point, didn't enjoy movies because I used to watch them and they'd be so analytical that I could not just sit down and just let myself enjoy it. I don't know if you have that problem, Craig.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I need to force myself to switch off and not look for character arcs and setups and foreshadowing in certain films.
I'd be like, oh, that key lighting's a bit too sharp. Just things like that. I'd be like, oh, someone
continuity error in the background. Script supervisor didn't do their job. No, I've got certain go-to films where I can just switch off and go, I'm going to enjoy this for what it is. But when I watch a new film, whether it's at home or in the cinema, it is a case of getting slightly inebriated, and then I can just go, you know what, I'm not working, I can sit down and let this story wash over me. And if then it doesn't, it's probably a bad film.
So when you're doing the show, is there a set structure to the show, or do you just gab on and work your way from the beginning to the end? And you've got
we try. I normally do some due diligence and do a bit of research beforehand and send sort of notes, kind of like a bit of a blow-by-blow to Craig. Yeah. And then Craig normally gets it and metaphorically screws it up, throws it in the trash.
I quite literally have never read any of your notes that you sent me.
Exactly. And then, so if you can kind of listen to some of our shows, it's definitely me battling to try and get through this sort of kind of script I've written, and then Craig derailing it most of the time. But then we'll have, but obviously the spirit of the show is a lot of back and forthing, and we'll go on tangents, very much as we probably derailed your podcast, Marv.
That's fine.
Just in the fact that we are really good friends, so we've also got a lot to talk about. We're very opinionated people. Some of us quite optimistic, some of us maybe a little bit negative, but that's the gel that brings us together. Opposites attract.
Yep. I've derailed one episode.
I would say you derailed it. It came out quite well.
You literally said in the episode, "Oh, you've derailed this episode."
Only after you had brought it to attention.
But apart from that, no. We set in the first few weeks of recording. We had a relatively set routine. We guys like, oh, let's talk about budget. Let's talk who's in the film. What do we know them from?
Yeah.
When did we first watch the film? All right, let's go and watch the movie together. Come back and chat about it. Because that became the kind of unspoken norm, I don't feel I need to get the notes. I just need to know, like, but yeah, for example, like when we did Legion,
Yeah.
I was ready to sit down and be like, well, I don't need to look at the fact that Paul Bettany was in this. I know what Paul Bettany's been in. I'm going to watch the film, so I'll guess, or I've already seen the film, so I'll guess the budget. You're then going to tell me what the actual fee was and how much it made in the box office.
It's quite nice to have something, a bit of blindness to it, isn't it? Because I'll go, a bit of this and this, and it's almost like, first time you're hearing it, and you're kind of like, so it's quite nice to have a bit.
I really make a point of never checking because it's one of the questions. Adam asks, how much do you think this was made for? I'll make a point of never checking and just guessing on what I know the film looks like. Again, if I've seen it, or in the case of say Legion or something, going, shit, I don't know. That looks like a $50 million movie or something. And it brings this kind of spark of naturalism to it. Because there are too many podcasts I listen to I have listened to where it is like, and this film was made and it was 1997 and in this time, and it's like, oh my God, just have a bit of like pep to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
no one wants to read Wikipedia. No one wants to listen to a podcast that is just facts.
Fair enough. Strong opinion.
That is a very strong opinion. It is.
No, if you like, so for example, the podcast "No Such Thing as a Fish,"
right?
It's quite literally a podcast about facts. It's the QI team who have but they bring some personality with it, and they discuss and they explain, and there's back and forth, and there is a verve to how they deliver the facts and the information. Obviously, Adam and I talk about facts. A film made for 50 million, that's a fact. Yep. But the back and forth is what makes it different for me.
Absolutely. Yep. So when you're editing the show, you must have... how do you do that then? Do you have absolutely tons of footage and then you think, oh my God, what am I going to do with all this? And then lots of
Adam,
editing.
do you want to answer this question?
Yeah, Craig does the editing with a gun to the back of his head, or if it's him holding the gun in his mouth, because he has about 3 or 4 hours to try and get it all down to a coherent, like in an hour episode. And as you can see, hear from us, Marv, that we do go on like little tangents and have little rants and whatnot. Some things are rants that can't make it into the episode for whatever reason. And with that, I feel obviously a testament to Craig, his abilities with the editing to actually make two guys having a chat about a movie they just watched seem entertaining, and with that as well I think as well to actually be able to sit down and kind of like have the tenacity to kind of go, okay, this doesn't work, that works, this doesn't work, that works, and then put it all together. I mean, there's been very little times where I've listened to an episode and gone, oh, why wasn't that included? And then Craig will just be like, oh, timing and stuff like that. I'll just be like, yeah, all right, whatever, mate. And then and we kind of move on. It's just kind of like I've got a lot of trust and faith in Craig's abilities to deliver that.
And we've got to the stage of trust, like in recording now, where there's obviously no one would have ever heard this, but when we're talking at a point where it's going on, and I'll cut it off and be like, "This, just let's move on. This isn't going to make the edit. I already am doing that in my head, and this is already out." And we had it with the Miscongeniality episode that we just released, where I can't remember what the point was. You were talking about a GIF or a meme of some sort. And it's like, we're an audio.
I was laying out my political agenda.
Yeah, we're an audio medium. Like we're not. You don't point describing a picture. But my favorite thing to do with the edit as well. There's two favorite things. One is like, if I think that there's a punchline to a joke over here that would work better to the joke over there, splicing that together and making it seem like we had it planned all along. Most of our jokes a lot of our jokes that we released are cut together on the editing room floor. My favorite thing to do is find I'm not sure how many people yet have cottoned on to this as something that happens. We have our outro song, which runs for like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
And it's a really good song. Was that another $5?
Yeah, there was a guy called Mike who I got chatting to on Fiverr, and he's been awesome. He did a few renditions for us.
It's a really good song. I put it in at the end because obviously we paid for it and it's fun to listen to. But most people are just like, oh, we're in the end credits. Switch to another show. What they don't realise is that I've cut in a joke that didn't make the original cut and put it as like a Marvel mid-credit sequence.
Yeah.
And that can range from anything from me complaining about my housemates having the washing machine on to Adam being unable to pronounce the name Jim Henson. And that in the editing, that's just fun. It's just like, how do I make this a bit more of our personality coming out?
Yeah, I can't pronounce shit.
Yeah, I've noticed the mid-credit sequence in there. I've noticed that.
Oh, good stuff.
Good.
I need to put that in when I do my blog. I need to actually point that out, that people need to listen to the whole thing to get the.
I think it's one of those things that we never really mention as like, oh, listen to the mid-credit joke. Because my hope is that in however many months or years or whatever time, someone will just listen to it all and be like, huh, didn't expect that. And then look back and go, shit, there's 50, 100 of these. And
is it like a secret message that you're building up to? It's like the first letter of every word or something.
Yeah. this is my like play it backwards in the record, and it's just like Freddie is done. Yeah, no, it's the sort of thing that. But then at the end of it, someone will get double the listens essentially.
Yeah.
So people will have to listen back again just to find that 5, 10, 15-second joke. Smart.
Pumping the numbers.
Absolutely.
I'm now going to make a suggestion that I made to the guys from Bad Counsel, which is when you have a problem pronouncing people's names, you could always snag those bits out of the episode and eventually put out a gag reel or something of mistaken names. Just have like a minute of both of you getting the names wrong or something.
Oh, if you don't think I've already started doing that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Craig's got a compilation of my best hits.
Yeah. Who did the Seven Samurai? What was the name of the director?
Akira Kurosawa.
Oh God, yeah, Kurosawa. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a fun one. That was a fun one to keep. Jim Henson was a one to keep. I'm sorry, Adam. I'm bragging on the fact that you.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But yeah,
it's all pay back and full. Don't worry.
I know. It's all payback for that Ty Furlong comment earlier. Yeah. So no, the editing process can sometimes be a bit arduous because, as well, like we'll do an episode and I'll look and be like, all right, we're talking about the finale of the movie. We've recorded for 40 minutes. Hey, this is going to be an easy edit. How the fuck do we now get to 2 hours? I don't know. And for some reason, our edits sometimes last longer than our conversations last longer than the movie itself. I imagine that's part of the course with a lot of these things. So it's like, all right, time to fucking separate the wheat from the chaff. I realise I'm swearing a lot. I don't mean to. It just happens.
That's all right. I'll put an advisory like I did with the episode that went out today.
Good.
I just couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, I can't imagine that anyone listens to our shows outside of the, or below the age of 18, considering the movies that we do are very much stuck in the sort of, 90s and very early 2000s. Because obviously you get to see your analytics and things like that as well. And we're doing quite well, actually. We've, in the sense that we've got a fairly good demographic of men to women. It's around about sort of 75 to 25. Yep. Pardon me. But our age range is pretty much our age as well. So we, guys that are in their 30s that are listening to our podcast, probably I can assume, because it's the movies that we do are from the areas of when they grew up and watched them.
To be clear, I'm not 30 yet.
No. And to be clear,
when's your birthday?
Unfortunately, I'm not in my 30s either. No.
Yeah, Adam, stop being ageist, man.
Oh, just mid-state facts.
Ageist.
For the most part, their audience is this sort of age range. There we go.
Mm.
People with time to waste.
Yes. Which I was going to try and play a game, but I didn't know whether to include it in the episode or not.
Oh, please, let's do it.
So Craig has to describe a film from beginning to end in under 30 seconds.
Let's do that.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Right. Okay, so...
I'll throw out a film.
Go on then.
Jesus.
Okay, Adam throws
Legion.
out the film and Craig has to describe it. Off you go.
All right, Fight Club.
A man goes through a schizophrenic phase where he meets his other secret hidden half, starts an underground fight club where it in turn becomes a anti-capitalist revolution, which involves Meatloaf and Jared Leto, where in turn they blow up all the credit card companies at the end, and the guy finds out that is that my timer. And then the protagonist then finds out that his best friend is actually his evil alter ego.
Got Batman Forever.
Oh god damn it, we're doing it. Batman versus Two-Face and the Riddler. Done.
Oh, fair.
Like the superhero movies are easy.
Yeah.
Let's go for something a little bit more nuanced then. Requiem for a Dream.
Oh my goodness. 3 heroin junkies and a lady that becomes addicted to drugs go through life and times of, I think, 90s New York. Is it 90s New York? Where they start to live the American dream of building a business for themselves, or in one case, Ellen Burstyn's getting on television, only to find that their dreams are shattered because drugs equals bad. And everyone's ends up depressed. And if you're sad, watch that movie because you'll feel better about your life.
Let's see if Adam can do it.
Yeah, let's see if Adam can do it.
Well then, Adam, do the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man film.
What even happens in that movie?
It's the Green
teenage
Goblin
boy stalking redheads, gets bitten by a radioactive spider. Doesn't realise that Willem Dafoe is the Goblin, even though he looks exactly like one. And eventually culminates into their back and forth where William Dafoe is then impaled with his own glider, which sets up for the sequel and the demise of the friendship between Tobey Maguire character and Jane Franco's character.
Do Legion.
This movie is about angels and Craig hating the movie. Craig despises this movie completely because apparently it's not contextual enough with some of the characters' motivations. Doesn't spell it all out because sometimes you have to do that as a writer. Everything has to be spelled out for the audience because the audience are idiots. That's obviously the way that Craig treats his writing. So everything's got to be a Chekhov gun. You can't just set up something in the beginning and then not have it pay off in the end. And Craig doesn't like action movies.
If that's how you see the film, buddy, that's how you see the film. Good to know that's your opinion.
Oh, dear. Brilliant. So, what other podcasts do you both listen to then, Craig?
So my favourite podcast is one called We Hate Movies, which is a New York-based podcast. It's the only podcast that I Patreon subscribe to, and it's one of the reasons that I kind of got into podcasting. Then how did this get made? From one, I jumped onto the other, and I've kind of rode that train for a long time. As a scriptwriter, I listen to the Script Notes podcast, and I listen to the Rugby Pod.
Yep.
And my favourite one at the moment is just the Pod Quiz. It comes out every Friday, and it's a 15-minute pub quiz podcast. Good friends of mine put me onto that, and he's on episode 850 or something, and it is just as I'm cooking or having breakfast, just a nice little piece of back and forth trivia I get to go forward with.
Nice.
Cool. Adam?
I do listen to the Rugby Pod. Great show. But I'm basic when it comes to podcasts. Also definitely a Joe Rogan fan. Obviously listen to Spyhards as well.
Yeah. So
you've got to give support and shout out to our friends at Spyhards. And of course your show, Marv, as well. That's
thank you.
I've it's one of those things with podcasts. I'll listen to bits and pieces here and there. I've noticed that a lot of our friends have started actually doing their own podcasts as well. So I feel that we've hopefully maybe inspired some to start dipping their toes into it as well. So that's quite good to see. So I'll probably be listening to theirs in the future. And I feel so basic when I say Joe Rogan because everyone listens to Joe Rogan.
I don't. Never listen to an episode.
Yeah, really? Oh, God, I
No.
did.
No.
Some awesome episodes.
I was about to start listening to Joe Rogan, and then he suddenly moved over to Spotify, which I think is the worst streaming platform for podcast.
So why do you think? Because I've heard this before from a lot of other people, but I listen to a lot of my podcasts on Spotify.
It's just really difficult to try and navigate your way around to finding a podcast, and then when you find it, the pages are not very simple to use. They're not always in order with the episodes, so you can't necessarily get a full episode list up on there. If you want to dig through it, it's just not an easy platform to use for that specific reason. I mean, Spotify is brilliant for music. If you want to just listen to something random in music, sort of pick a playlist or something, that's perfect. But with podcasting, I think it's just tricky to use.
That's fair.
Yeah, which is probably going to get me removed off Spotify now.
Oh, not at all. Yeah, I've heard some complaints, especially more on the Joe Rogan side of things, because it's video cast.
Yep.
So it's very difficult to watch video like on your phone like that in that sense. And there are some other fantastic podcasts which are video based. One of them's the OSW Review, the Old School Wrestling Podcast.
Yep.
And that's, you can listen to it like audibly, but you get way more out of it visually because of the effort that they put into the editing and the video. So yeah, I do get that complaint.
Yeah. It's a bit of a bother for me that with the video because as you know, most of my podcast listening is done while I'm driving around at work in a work van, so it's not video based. I listen to it, and I know I feel like I'm missing a lot of content through it being audible listening and not visual occasionally.
Yeah, me and Craig have had this discussion beforehand, and because Craig sort of has suggested before that we sort of put this on YouTube and we go through that route. But I very much feel that there's a sort of like distinction behind that, because I feel if you're going to do the visual side of things, it needs to be done really well. Because otherwise, you can just put the audio up, that's fine. But I feel to stimulate people on YouTube, when you've got like a visual platform, most people go to YouTube to watch videos. If you don't have something that's engaging in that sense, then there's no point. Because I've tinkered with the idea beforehand, and I feel that me and Craig are very much faces for radio, in that sense. So.
Thank you.
Oh dear. But then again, if you went video, wouldn't you be tempted to like get bits from films and try and put clips in your episodes and things like that to make it a bit more, shall we say, snazzy or a bit more?
Yeah, there is an idea there, and I feel that there probably will come a point where we will edit our podcasts into video.
Yep.
And it's just trying to figure out the right sort of format, using the right editing, because at the end of the day, we obviously Craig has to do all the editing on the audio side of things. Yep. So what would be the expectation there? Would Craig also do the visual stuff? Probably not. So probably be landing on myself. Am I prepared to do that? Yes, I will, but it's one of those things that I probably need to get comfortable with that. And I feel it'd be very unfair to put all that workload on Craig when he's obviously such a busy man and in-demand screenwriter.
Since we're in this frame of mind then, what advice would you give to people starting a podcast for the first time then?
Greg, probably be better. Yeah.
Honestly, just do it. The very first podcast I did was 6 years ago. And I was sat down, it was me and three friends, and we were like, oh, let's do this. And I was of the opinion, like, let's plan it out. Let's figure out what we're going to talk about, this, that, and the other. And one of them just went, nah, let's just do it tomorrow. And for me, it was a case of, oh, Chris, we're jumping in to the deep end head first. And then we ran for however many episodes we ran for. I think 64 we got to before like life took over. But every episode we did from episode 2 onwards, it was it was absolutely fine because we'd done it for the first time. The idea of doing a podcast comes to what if it's not interesting? What if I'm not interesting? What if I sound terrible? What if I can't edit it? What if all of the reasons you don't do anything ever come up? And actually just do it once and you'll find out whether or not you can do it, and you'll listen to it back and go, God, I wish I'd said this. And then you do it next time.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that some people get paralysis on certain projects like that, where it's just that there's almost like a fear of failure before you even started. But there's a couple of things that I'm aware of in terms of like certain biases like that. So one of the things is that when we started this is that we just wanted to do it for fun and to try and keep it fun. And I felt that even just a couple of weeks ago, I feel like me and Craig had this conversation where we were being overly rigid with stuff. Probably more my end. I was being quite rigid with what I wanted to do with the podcast and what the structure and the format. And I wanted to so when we said, right, we're going to do these movies, it's like, right, we are going to do these movies and setting out a bit of a schedule. And I felt that schedule started pulling at us a little bit. And it was just so instead of doing movies that we actually wanted to maybe do that week, it's like, right, well, we've got to sit down and do this movie. And sometimes when we obviously at the beginning of when we're picking these movies out, it seems like a good idea at the time, but then after we've watched it and we kind of go, do you know what, maybe we shouldn't have done that movie, or maybe we could have done a better movie. And I feel that this is actually where Miscongeniality came out, because it wasn't on the schedule, and we were just like, do you know what, we'll have a really loose schedule. We'll go back to trying to just keep it fun. And I feel that sometimes that when you are starting any project like this and putting out entertainment, that you can kind of get a bit wrapped up sometimes in trying to please so many different audiences and trying to, by the end of the day, we've got a really cool core audience that really, really supportive. And they've liked the work we've done so far. So if they've liked that, hopefully there's more and more people out there that will like it. And so we need to keep that energy up. We need to keep up that level of just that kind of momentum, really. And if we feel that we're not having fun doing it, then it'll become to a point. It's like, what's the point in doing this? I want to keep it going with Craig, because Craig's a great friend. He's got great insight, and I've enjoyed this experience with him so much, and it's opened up a lot of doors, and we get to meet loads of cool people, and we've joined a really cool community, obviously meeting people like yourself, Marv, getting to know other podcasts as well. So yeah, it's kind of what Craig's saying. It's just dip your toes in, go for it. There's no expectation on anyone. It's not like you're going to be doing a podcast and be raking it in. So you're pretty much in it for the fun of it. And if anything does come of it, then that's just a bonus.
Definitely. So where can people find your show, and how can they get hold of you?
So we are on Spotify.
I know. Yep. So am I.
And then we're also on all the other major podcasts hosting sites. So we are on Apple, Google, all that jazz. But also we're on all the other social media, so Facebook, Twitter. But our Instagram game is pretty good. So that's where we'll do most of our interacting with fans. Our
Instagram game is so good that you don't even want to give out our handle.
I was going to leave that to you, mate.
Every week. So we're on Facebook, we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes at Adam and Craig's Guilty Pleasure Cinema. We are on Instagram at Adam and Craig's GPC. We're on Twitter at Adam and Craig. And we do have a Patreon. I think we currently lost money on that, but it's patreon.com/Adam and Craig's GPC.
Guilty Pleasure Cinema.
Apologies, got confused. And I'm tempted to do one of my old jokes. I used to do a running joke where I'd name a load of outdated technology in which you could contact us, such as fax machines and carrier pigeons. But no, just find us on Instagram, drop us a message there if you want to get in touch.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for talking with me, guys. I'm glad that we got round to it eventually.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for taking the time.
That's great. Anyway, thank you everybody for listening, and hope you listen again to another episode of Pods Like Us. Right, I'm going to bring somebody else into the conversation now, and those bits, if you don't mind, Ethan, I'm going to put those bits aside, and we'll slot those into the full episode that me and you will do together at a later date, if that's okay.
Sounds good. Sounds
Cool.
good.
Cool. Let's see if Craig has joined us then from Adam and Craig's Guilty Pleasure Cinema.
Hello.
Hello, Craig. How are you?
Very well,
Hi,
thank
Craig.
you. Hey, how's it going? I've got Adam here as
Pretty
well.
good. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Craig, so it's Craig Busek and Adam
Kent.
yeah. From Adam and Craig's Guilty Pleasure Cinema, is it?
That's the one. That's quite easy to remember with our names in the title.
And it's definitely not a mouthful.
No, it's not. No. No. We've got. While I was waiting for you guys, I was cheeky and I asked Ethan a few questions that I'm going to slot into a separate show that we'll get together and record at some point.
Yeah, cool. Great.
Yeah, Ethan's got a phone call to make at past, and then he's going to have to pop back into the conversation when he's done that call.
Oh yeah, no worries.
Yeah. Not the best timing, unfortunately.
So, where are you from, Ethan?
I'm from California.
Oh yeah,
From
cool.
Palo Alto. Yeah. So what part of the UK are you from?
London based.
Gotcha. I love London.
Yeah, it's all right normally, but we just moved into the UK's got like a tier system for our restrictions in coronavirus, and we just moved into our tier 3, which is it the highest, Craig?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the highest tier. So everything's been shut down now, which is always fun.
Yeah, that's frustrating. I have friends in the UK right now, and they're going crazy. I have a friend that lives on his own, and it's just like in like a tiny apartment in London. He's not happy right now.
Well, yeah, a lot of people. I'm quite lucky that I live with my partner, and then
that's nice.
Yeah, and then so obviously Craig here lives with flatmate as well, so he's not been too bad. And then so it's what I mean. It's been all right for us in that sense, but we've got loads of friends who are sort of living solo, and
Struggling.
they've been finding it quite challenging.
Mm.
But
For sure. I'm an extrovert. I definitely could not live on my own like that if I weren't out all the time. But I mean, you just can't.
So, what part of California are you from, mate?
Palo Alto.
Oh, okay.
So I went to school up near Seattle, and then I'm back home here living with my parents just because it's so expensive. It's way too pricey here. But
you've moved south then, Ethan, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah.
So you've moved to Southern Cal. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm in Northern California right now. Yeah.
All right. Yep.
But I was up in. Sorry.
As a Brit, I'm trying to work out the geography of it all. I don't know why.
Oh, for sure. I always ask my British friends how far apart they think the Bay Area and LA are apart, and they usually say 2.5 hours. I'm like, no, it's 6.5 hours. It's massive.
Wow.
Yeah.
At least because the United States is.
Yeah, I think as Brits we don't really appreciate the sort of distance traveled by Americans. I think an hour is long, whereas I know American friends will travel 2 or 3 hours to go visit a restaurant. And you're like, that's just being so.
Yeah, that's never something I'd want to do. But I mean, it can take you 2 hours to get across LA. Sometimes it's yeah, no, it's crazy.
That's mad. Martin, just to ask about yourself then, whereabouts are you from in the UK?
Near Nottingham.
Ah, yeah, very cool, man.
Robin Hood country. with a better accent than Kevin Costner had in Robin Hood. Yeah.
And Russell Crowe by that merit.
Yes. Why did they give him a Sheffield accent? I don't know.
I think that's
It's as close as he can get.
I was going to say, I think that's as best as he can do.
Oh, probably, yeah. Poor Aussies, they can't get accents, can they?
No. I mean, was Mel Gibson, when he was doing Lethal Weapon, was he trying to do an American accent, or was he just straight up, I can't?
He was trying hard, but...
I think he was trying hard, yeah.
Was he?
It's the best he could do, Adam. It's the best he could do.
But he's actually American, isn't he, Mel Gibson? Because he was born there, and then they moved over to Australia, and then he came back to work. And
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it's citizenship.
Citizenship.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say it's been a long day today. So I've been up since like 5:30, and I've been working. So I've just finished, come straight here to record. So I'm a little bit fried.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Well, yes. I'm a night shift worker, so when I do shows in the daytime, it's a bit weird. Right. The guys from Spotlight as well, they've got some background in television and film as well. Because Matt from Spotlight, he does scripts, and I think.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Craig, that's good.
What kinds of things are you guys working on?
So what are you working on at the moment then?
Well, at the moment, I just finished off a British crime drama called 13 Cars, which is being directed by a guy called Rob Woods and produced by a guy called Jonathan Softcott.
Oh, cool.
Who's done things like what's it called? Like the British, like Craig Fairbrass kind of gangs and gangsters, guns and violence kind of movies. He's doing one of those. I'm currently working on a Taiwanese TV show called Incursion, which they're pitching as like the Taiwanese X-Files, which really works for me. And yeah, that's kind of it. And at the moment, I'm doing a book adaptation for a lady named Kate Allett, her kind of true life story of overcoming locked-in syndrome, which is where you're like paralyzed from everywhere below the eyelid. And it's her journey going from locked in to being now the poster child of overcoming that illness. Doctor said to her, like, oh, you're never going to sit up again. She sat up. You're never going to walk. She started running. And then she climbed a mountain. Has raised hundreds of thousands for charity.
And she wanted Amelia Clark, didn't she?
She did want Amelia Clark to play her, and I laughed. But at the end of the day, the stars, I guess. But so I'm just adapting her biography into a film at the moment.
That's exciting.
Yeah, here and there.
For sure. That's awesome.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep, I can hear you, Adam.
Awesome.
And Craig?
That's it. Fantastic. Craig is literally just wrapping up something. He'll be just another minute.
Yep.
How you been, mate? Been well?
I've been well. I can hear the action in the background.
Yeah, so it's like a sort of like a school playground opposite, which doesn't help.
Yeah. To quote the orange president, it is what it is.
It is.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello. Very loud.
Oh, am I? My apologies.
Yeah.
I'm just also going to do a quick mic test as well, just to see if I can turn it down a bit.
I have a new microphone arriving today at some point.
What did you go for?
I've gone for a sort of like middle-priced one at the moment, around just under £100.
Sorry.
And then eventually I will go for the same one that Dave has got from Live Life Loud, because he's got Shure, I can't remember what it is now, but the Shure microphone that's for podcasting.
I've just changed my input level. Is that any better?
That's better, Craig. Yep.
Perfect.
Oh, there's Craig. He's on video.
Hello.
Well, in that case, I'll go back to my
Adam, get on video. Come on, man.
Fake background. There you go.
Nice.
I'm on
very
the
cool.
telly. Dear me.
Is that a little bit better? Is that sort of taking out the... Oh, wait a second. It's doing it by itself now. That should hopefully be correct there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and if obviously we do hear any screaming children, it's not coming from the basement.
Not this time.
Not this time. It's coming from outside.
Yeah. Just not listening to what I'm saying. I think it's 20 weeks we've managed now to get an episode out every week.
Yeah, something like that.
That's good. That's great. Yeah. So, Adam and Scott from Spyhards know each other then?
Yes, we do. We used to work together many years ago, and our sort of connection really isn't really through movies. Obviously, if we work together, but through wrestling.
Okay.
So we used to go to watch the wrestling shows and stuff like that. So when they'd come to like London or something like that, to play at the O2, we'd go and get seats and watch big sweaty men grapple with each other. All good.
Boy, I don't know how to respond to that big sweaty man. I don't know. Dear me. So you're busy at work then, Craig, by the sound of it?
The film industry is gearing up for when they're going to start again. So obviously that means I get a lot of work coming my way of developing ideas or doing rewrites on projects. So I got hired for another one this week, which is good. But again, it's another case of like, God, when are we going to actually fit this in? So the last 2 weeks I've been working kind of all-nighters and early morning starts to kind of catch up with myself. I think Adam was living with me at the time I got hired for 2 of the projects that I just finished off this week. So you kind of get a scope then of how long it takes to get from kind of start to not finish, but first draft. But yeah, so it's a lot of conversations with a lot of people. Are we going to get you to see your face, Adam?
Yeah. I'm looking okay today, so I don't mind putting you on the old video.
There we go.
There you go.
Oh, nice pop shield.
Yeah, I got so this is the one that Craig recommended to myself. It was like a nice little I think it was like about 50 quid in the end, but it's so good that it can literally pick up what's going on outside on the other side of the street. So which is sort of a bit of a pro and a con really.
Have you got setting selection on it, or is it just set to what it is? You can't change the.
It's kind of I'll see if I can turn it down just a tiny little bit more, but it kind of fixes itself. It's a bit weird like that.
Because some microphones you have a switch on where you can change them from one direction to another, so it picks up just from a certain area.
No, yeah, it's not that snazzy, I don't think.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is sort of, as I said, the sort of problem with I think filming now or recording from home rather than the studio or in a sort of like a closed setting, which we're used to. It's just a bit frustrating, but you gotta make do with the situation. Still got to get that content out there.
Yeah. I'm surprised the guys from Spyhards didn't ask you to take part in the Condor Man episode, because that would fit perfectly with a guilty pleasure film.
Yeah, it's we've got that in the pipeline. We are going to do a bit of a crossover episode, and but we've got another love, me and Scott. So that's what we're going to come together on. So we'll leave that as a bit of a surprise.
Okay, I know you're going to do a review of Over the Top with Stallone.
Oh, that would be a great shout. Yeah, I'm very much a big fan of Stallone, as you know.
Yep.
And Craig has no love for that movie.
Because it's not very good.
And
it's brilliant.
I'm still saying Craig needs to watch Time Cop.
Yeah, he's never seen it. I can believe it. He hasn't seen any Van Damme movies.
That's not true. I've seen a few. I've seen enough.
I've seen the ones that we watched together, or I've suggested.
Yeah, that was enough. No, that's not true. I saw Expendables 2, which he was really good in.
Yep.
I'd say that's by far his least credible work, considering that it's a huge ensemble cast.
But it's got all your favourite people in it.
It does. That's not what we're talking about, though. But
I love Stallone and I love Van Damme, but not when they work together.
No.
You've only recently just seen, what was it, Sudden Death? Which is, and you're shaking your head there.
literally a spoof movie that they put an action star in.
Nah, it's brilliant, mate. It's got everything you need. It's got dynamic between a dad looking to gain the respect of his kids, for the job that he does. Obviously, there's hockey as well. That's in your bag of things that you like. There's explosions and bad guys. There's a president that gets held kidnapped. Oh no, vice president.
Vice president, yeah.
Vice president. There's a mascot that gets.
I saw the film. I don't know why you're selling it to me. I've seen the film.
I was just saying, it's got everything. It's literally like a well-contained movie.
It's a movie. I'll give you that.
Yeah. And and then we probably will do Time Cop at some point as well. I think that's going to be on our next block of movies.
Right. Okay.
We want to get that sweet mullet in. We're looking into the old merch game. I've got a few t-shirt designs and stuff like that, which definitely obviously ship onto the mug and stuff like that. But that's we've got to take it step by step at the moment.
Yep, same here. I'm thinking about it now, especially since the logo isn't my face now, so they won't have my mug on the mug, which is a good thing.
You get to like those little pods. You could just like maybe sort of character morph into your face. I quite like your logo, the little peas in the pod.
That. Yeah.
I think that's good. Look.
It's better than that. But then again, I like yours. That works perfectly as well.
Yeah, that was a hey, we found something really cheap on Fiverr. and then it was just like, yeah, cool. Just do us a logo. I wanted to do like film and movies and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, what name do you want to come up with? And I was just like, Adam Craig. And then we were like, well, we want to talk about guilty pleasures. And then we thought it'd be quite cool to be like, it's like we're in the cinema, we're watching these movies. So it's like, so obviously, yeah, a bit of a mouthful. And then they threw this logo at us, and I was like, yep, that'll do. So again, there probably will be later down the line, maybe sort of a revamp of our logo as well. Craig doesn't like his picture on it. He feels it doesn't look like him.
That's because it doesn't. And yours currently doesn't look like you either. We need a
at least I've got the
beard upgrade where it's like 6 inches lower for yours.
Yeah. I had a call with my general manager the other day, and to renew my DBS. Yeah. So like the criminal background check and stuff like that, because I coach children and things like that. And then when she was like, "Oh, obviously you need to see your passport and all this sort of stuff," and then so I switched on the camera, and she was like, "Jesus Christ, what's happened?" I was like, "Yeah, just rocked out the prison look, just let my beard grow, and the hair just out." And then she was like, "Yeah, you're going to clean that up before you come back." And I was like, "Oh, I guess I'm going to have to now." I think it's rocking quite a thick beard. Trying to hold on to my hair as well.
It's a strong catfish game you've got. That's
mate. You got to change your look every couple of months. I say this,
otherwise they catch you.
Yeah, it's like was it Conspiracy Theory? Mel Gibson. You know what I mean? Or Enemy of the State. Yeah. And I'm Will Smith.
Yes. Yep. I like Enemy of the State. That's another film that they could have on Spyhards.
I think I'm not sure if they've already done it. Good podcast. I like listening to them.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. But so what was I going to say? So we've already got some bits that we got in the chat from Christmas, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm trying to think what else to. Do you need me to put that up again for you so you know what we're going for? You can't see it because it keeps
That's it. Yeah.
Wow, that's clever. Very nice. Dear me. Where's my phone? I can send you.
Yeah, go for it. If you want to just fire off the questions, mate, I will just go.
Yeah, just go for it. Right. Okay, so we'll do the official introduction thing, and then we'll go to the bits that we didn't get. Okay?
Cool. Fantastic. Yeah, well,
yeah,
great.
really good. Yeah.
I enjoyed myself, Marv.
I was going to try and play.
I feel remiss.
I was going to say I was going to try and play a
Okay.
game with Craig, but I didn't know whether to include it in the episode or not. And the idea I had was,
Oh, please, let's do it.
so Craig has to describe a film from beginning to end in under 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Let's do
let's
that.
splice that in. Let's find a way to edit. Let's do it.
Right.
Your opinion.
Oh, dear. Brilliant. All right, guys. What else you got? You got anything else on soon? Looking forward to.
Yeah, we will be doing bonus episodes. Well, we're recording today, and then we'll be doing our 20th episode. We're not still too sure what we're going to do. We were thinking first night, but that might change. And then we'll do our end of season Q&A. So we'll be posting that out on Instagram. Obviously, drop us a question, Marv, because I'm sure you'll have loads, and we'll do a whole episode just sort of giving
Answering the
feedback
listener questions, yeah. Giving a bit more insight into us.
And then we'll take a little short break, and then we'll come back with a vengeance.
And we'll come back with Season of the Nick.
Oh, yes. Do you want to... Yeah, that's actually a great shout. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, it's one of the first things we talked about when we first started setting up the podcast was like, how many Nicolas Cage films are we going to do? And so far, the answer is 0. And so we decided to do what we're calling the Season of the Nick and do 6 Nicolas Cage movies that we consider to be guilty pleasures.
So talking what? Snake Eyes?
I mean, I want to give the joke answers, but no, Snake Eyes, Face Off, the Wicker Man remake.
I
want to do Next as well.
Next, knowing Mum and Dad, maybe. Like, yeah.
I feel we have to do obviously the Season of the Witch, because
Of course we do.
Yeah.
But we're not going to do 8mm.
No.
Oh, really? Oh, that's a
We're
great
not going
movie.
to do 8mm. We're straight up. We're not going to do 8mm.
Touchy.
You're not doing Con Air either.
Damn right.
Right. Because that's too good to be considered guilty pleasure, would you say?
In my opinion, I think that film like I said earlier, that film sets out to do something and it does it. Is it wrong for doing that? No. It's like critiquing an out and out comedy movie. If you don't get the jokes, that's on you. But they're still telling jokes. Which is why we've probably done one comedy so far on our show.
Well, one. Which one was that?
Out and out comedy, Miss Congeniality.
Oh, fair. Because we have done other episodes, but obviously they've been lost to the ether. So
yeah, fun times.
More of that in the Q&A.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to write that down, ready for the Q&A.
What did Adam mean by that?
Have you ever?
What got lost in the ether? Well,
have you ever not put out an episode?
Yes, many.
Short answer, yes. Long answer, 4.
Right.
And only 3 of them were my fault.
Have you ever decided that there's a film that you would absolutely disagree, where you've disagreed?
Love Actually.
About doing? Yeah.
Oh, about doing. We've in our first Q&A, we were asked if we would ever review 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
And we said that we'd do that at 10,000 plays.
Did we say that? Did we say 50,000?
I'm pretty sure it's 10,000.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah, so we're pretty close.
You must be pretty close to that now.
Yeah, so it's a bit like, maybe we should have set the bar a bit higher.
Yeah. You're going to have to watch it now.
No, we didn't just say 50 Shades. We said the whole trilogy.
Did we? No,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure we just said the one.
We out and out said all 3. We just do all 3.
I don't think we did.
We did. Dude,
we got it recorded.
Got the recording.
Yeah, we'll go back.
But no, there are certain films. Is there a film that you and I have discussed as like, oh, that would be great, and then no, that wouldn't work? I don't think so.
No, I feel that we've suggested movies in the past where we've just gone, would we do this?
Yeah.
And to the point where it was obviously so far away that I can't even really think of what they were.
Yeah, I feel like
there'll be movies that we'll go back and do. I think what actually be quite good for us eventually is to go back and maybe redo an episode. So that maybe like when we do, like, say, our 50th episode or 100th episode or something like that, we actually go back to maybe one of our first episodes, and just because I think if you listen to what we were like in the first like 1 to 3, it was very much, you know, trying to find our feet and our voice. And obviously, as we've grown and improved, it'd be really interesting to actually see and compare how an episode down the line would, you know, compete with something that we did first. So maybe like doing Judge Dredd, like our first one. That'd be interesting to do. But we'll save that for the drawing board. Yeah, I mean, we've got lots of ideas.
But then would you go all meta and listen to yourselves all over again and comment on what you'd said on the episode?
Oh, that's even better.
No.
Thanks for that idea.
hard no.
No.
Craig knows
Absolutely.
I'll just be like shitting on him.
I don't need Adam laughing at more of his own jokes.
Yeah, that's a really bad trait of mine. I don't know why. I think I'm hilarious. So I actually, it's such a weird thing actually, because I know most people don't like listening to their voice, and maybe this is the narcissist in me, but I actually genuinely enjoy listening to our podcast, because it's one of those things where I don't know. I assume it's just because I appreciate our humour and our friendship as well. So it's quite nice listening to that. It's quite warming.
That's cool.
Might not be there in the recording, but
yeah, I can hear it when I listen to it.
Yeah.
There's
a mutual respect.
Yeah. And a mutual occasional dislike of each other's film taste. Anyway, I've kept you guys for long enough. I'll let you get on. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having us, Marv. Appreciate it.
Take care.
You too.
Just a quick question. I've been recording again mine on Audacity. Do you want me to send you that file to cut and splice?
Yes, please. Have you recorded yourself as well, Adam?
No, I thought you were recording at your end.
Yeah, it's doing it on Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I've got your Zoom recording. Yeah.
Sweet, fantastic.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks
cool.
a lot.
Cheers.
Thank you, Marv.
Thank
Have a
you,
good one,
Craig.
mate.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.